Earlier in 2024, the first battle lines were drawn when the cream of the crop of South Africa's best racing drivers took on the elements, but also one another during round one in one of the best off-road racing series on the planet. And now, just over 5 weeks down the line, this epic battle is about to continue with the second round in as many months. Once again, crews will put everything on the line as they battle for championship honours. Welcome to round 2 of the 2024 South African Rally Raid Championship. And all the action is brought to you by Toyota, hashtag Team Hilux Rally Raid, Ford, Castrol, and ICANN. We are in KZN for the second round of the SA Rally Raid Championship 2024. It is Vryheid, the PS Laser ProMac Vryheid 400, with a host, some competitors descending on this beautiful town to take part over 2 days of racing across 4 different categories. We also caught up with SARC CEO Archie Rutherford for a quick insight into the sport, and more specifically the makeup of these categories just moments before the action got underway.
Yeah, we tried to simplify it from last year. We had too many classes, so we've now adopted the FIA category system. So we've got the ultimate class, which is all the massive production cars. And then we've got the T1 class, which is our South African version of the stock class that the FIA have. Then we've got the Challenger version, which is all the open wheelers, and then some of the side-by-sides with more power. And then, of course, the side-by-side version, the SSV.
The second round of the 2024 South African Rally Raid Championship, the Vryheid 400, was sure to bring the excitement and adrenaline of rally raid racing to the historic town of Vryheid in northern KwaZulu-Natal. This new addition to the SARC calendar promised to be a challenging event for competitors, with a mix of rocky mountains, fast and twisty tracks, and plenty of dust. But before we get stuck into the race, let's see how the crews stacked up after round 1 in the championship fight. Jeff Minott had a comfortable 15-point lead in the SSV category over Darren Goodmans and lady racer Puck Klaasen. In the adventurer class, it was Daniel Schroeder on 35 points, 7 ahead of rival Johan de Bruin, with Gerrit Heinlein a further 5 points adrift. Schroeder's senior had 20 points, with Philip Puerto rounding out the top 5. And these were the standings at the sharp end of the field. Janelle de Villiers leads the early title chase following his win in round 1, ahead of teammate Guy Bottrell and youngster Jaden Els. Jan Horn occupied 4th ahead of his teammate Forsheer Blikno, with just 4 points separating Chris Viss in 6th and Eugene Bierman in 10th. Round 2 of the PS Laser ProMac 400, to use the complete and official name, marked the first time the SA Rally Raid Championship visited Vryheid, a coal mining and cattle farming town with rich history located in northern KwaZulu-Natal. This picturesque location has seen many battles over the past few centuries, and will once again serve as a challenging battleground, featuring a variety of terrains from rocky mountain passes to lush timber plantations. The event's headquarters, start and finish line and designated service point were all based at the Vryheid Flying Club, providing spectators with close-up views of the action and the chance to interact with the teams and their powerful racing machines. Kicking things off will be Brett Cummings and Henk Latergan. It is the Castrol qualified just over 10 k's of racing. That's, of course, to decide the starting orders for when racing begins proper this afternoon for stage 1. Always a favourite to win a race, but Latergan's name does not appear on the current championship points table, as he didn't finish round 1. That position belongs to teammate and racing stalwart Janelle de Villiers.
It's a new race here, we haven't been here before. So yeah, we'll just try and do our best again.
TGRSA teammate Guy Bottrell had every intention to go one position better here at round 2. The young man responsible for fireworks during round 1 was none other than Jaden Els.
It's going to be difficult, and I heard the route isn't that easy, so we're going to have to push, but also save the car to get it to the end.
And also, we've got some local favourites in the Ford crew, with the Woolridges going to fight strong.
And being here in KZN, we know this terrain well, and I think it's going to, be a proper, rough, tough off-road race.
We keep saying that the South African Rally Raid Championship is one of, if not the best in the world. But here is Team Redline team boss Terence Marsh with his take on why that is the case.
With me being blessed to go around the world and looking at different championships, it's just so high. It's incredible. And when you look at the starting list and you look at the quality of the cars, it's really, really impressive.
The proceedings got underway with the Castrol qualifying race early on the Friday morning. The short but intense 15-kilometer sprint determined the starting order for the first main stage of the event. Competitors knew they had to push hard to secure favorable starting positions while avoiding damage to their vehicles on the tricky terrain. The qualifying race saw Gareth and Lance Woolridge from Neil Woolridge Motorsports setting the pace in their Ford NWM Ranger. Gareth, with Boyd Dreyer navigating, clocked the fastest time of 12 minutes and 49 seconds. Closely followed by brother Lance and Kenny Gilbert, who were just 3 seconds adrift. Guy Bottrell and Dennis Murphy in the Toyota Gazoo Racing Hilux secured third place with a time of 12 minutes 57, sharing the same time as Jaden Els and Henry Kierner from King Price Extreme. Johan and Van Horn, driving the hashtag Team Hilux Rally Raid DKR Hilux, rounded out the top 5 with a time of 13 minutes and 3 seconds. Former champions Henk Lategan and Brett Cummings returned to racing following the accident with the spectator car the race before, but could only master the 6th fastest time, 26 seconds slower than pole position, but 3 seconds faster than Brian Baragwanath and Leonard Kramer in the Century Racing CR7 Twin Turbo. Further down the field, Chris Visser and Albertus Fenter in the red-lined Revo T1 Plus GTR finished 8th, with Sahud Varial and Francois Cazelet in another Toyota Gazoo Racing Hilux posting a time of 13 minutes 25 seconds, securing 9th place. Janelle de Villiers and Alvin Fonk had a challenging qualifying race, finishing 10th with a time of 13 minutes 30 after wrong slotting and losing valuable seconds. Johan de Bruyn and Adrian Ritz were the pick of the bunch in the adventurer class for cars with smaller wheels than their red-line Revo T1. Just 7 seconds clear of Jürgen Schroeder and Stuart Gregory in the trustworthy Nissan Navara, with the Heinleins in the form of Gerard and Rudy rounding out the class qualifying podium in their red-line VK56. In the SSV class, Jeff Minott and Rodney Burke led the field in their hydro-power equipment Can-Am Maverick, with a time of 14 minutes 59 seconds. Comfortably ahead of young Dutch driver Pat Klaassen and Charles Swanepoel in the Moto Netix Racing Can-Am Maverick, who in turn beat Darren Goodmans and Quinton Lessing in another Can-Am Maverick to the line. While at the front of the field, it was advantage to the Ford corner, with both Woolridge brothers claiming an early advantage over their Toyota rivals. Guy Bottrell was the best of the rest, followed by Els and Kierner, and the Horn brothers from Mullalon. A good start for the NWM Ford crew of Gareth Woolridge, who secured pole position.
Yeah, it was fantastic. I must say, not what I expected, but very happy.
It is day 1 here in Vryheid. We had an extremely fast Castrol qualifier, and the folks that came out on top, Gareth Woolridge alongside Boyd Dreyer, who are of course the defending champions when it comes to the overall category in the SA Rally Raid Championship. But they chose to go out 4th on the road as we head towards stage 1, which is around 38 kilometers in a very dusty and very new terrain. So those tasked with the unenviable task of opening the road, it is the folks that came out top spot over in Mullalon. The legendary Janelle de Villiers alongside Alvin Fonk.
For 2024, the South African Rally Raid Championship has adopted a new format for a number of the races that will make up this year's title fight. Normally, the end qualifying would signal the end of the Friday's action, but not anymore. The race was split up into stages, the same as what you would see at an international race, and qualifying was followed by stage 1. But first, the draw for starting positions following the Castrol qualifying race. The crews with the faster times get to choose their starting positions in reverse order, so there is a clear prize for qualifying in pole. As the northern KwaZulu-Natal landscape enters winter, the area was bone dry with loads of dust, which means higher up the starting order was the place to be. And that is what the starting order looked like following the draw. Stage 1 covered a challenging 38 kilometers of the Vryheid terrain. The Woolridge brothers continued their strong performance from the qualifying race, but it was Guy Bottrell and Dennis Murphy who charged to the front, posting a combined time of 40 minutes and 47 seconds for the day. Gareth and Boyd Dreyer followed closely, just 25 seconds behind. Lance and Kenny Gilbert maintained their pace, finishing 3rd, 14 seconds further back. Johan and Van Horn finished 4th, 31 seconds behind the leaders, while Sahud Varial and Francois Cazelet moved up to 5th place, 6 seconds further back. Henk Ladegan and Brett Cummings, who had a challenging qualifying race, showed their skill by finishing stage 1 in 6th place, 8 seconds behind Sahoud and Francois. Ladegan was surrounded by a host of fast drivers, including the likes of Brian Baragwanath and Leonard Kramer, who occupied the provisional 7th place. Chris Visser and Albertus Fenton, the red-lined Revo T1 Plus GTR, finished 8th, 1 minute and 7 seconds behind the leaders, while Janiel de Villiers and Alvin Vonk made significant gains to finish the day 9th place, 1 minute and 53 seconds behind the leaders. Rens Hofstra and Wade Harris rounded out the top 10 in their red-lined Revo T1 Plus GTR, 3 minutes and 20 seconds off the lead. In the SSV class, Jeff Minott and Rodney Burke continued to lead, finishing the day with a combined time of 49 minutes and 8 seconds. Pat Klaassen and Charles Swanepoel finished 2nd in the SSV class, 6 minutes and 58 seconds behind Jeff and Rodney, while Darren Koenmans and Quinton Lessing lost loads of time while facing some mechanical issues along the way.
Meanwhile, in the adventurer class, how tight is this? Eben Besson dominated matters when it came to the stage. However, taking into account the casual qualifier, Besson sits alongside the Heinleins, and they sit alongside Johan de Bruyn with the exact same time going into day 2.
After more than 50 kilometers of flat-out racing, not even 1 single second could separate 3 different cars, including the likes of Eben Besson and Peytnies Pinot on the Team Hilux Rally Raid Hilux, the red-line VK56 of the Heinleins, and the red-line Revo of Johan de Bruyn and navigator Adrian Ritz.
So it's good as we haven't even raced.
Yeah, true. It's been close, so that's like awesome.
The guy that keeps it together tomorrow and keeps it on the road is going to walk away with the podium.
Here it is, confirmation of the standings at the end of the first day of racing action at the Vryheid 400. And it is the name of an Italian Guy Bottrell who topped the charts with a 25-second advantage over fellow Italians, but Ford rivals Gareth and Lance Woolrich. The Horn brothers were in 4th, with youngster Sahoud Varyawa rounding out the top 5.
And it's great. I think Lance is 2nd, we 1st so far, so it's a really great start to the race.
So yeah, we're very happy, feel very at home, can read the terrain really well, so very comfortable.
Their pace is definitely there, and that's why it's critically important that we have a good clean run and we make sure the pace is good.
It was an early morning start for the crews who all descended upon the Vryheid airfield for the start of the final day of the inaugural Vryheid 400. The main action on the Saturday would consist of 2 175-kilometer stages, separated by a 30-minute service break at the Vryheid Flying Club. The teams faced a grueling route featuring a mix of terrains from lowlands next to mealie fields and rivers to steep mountain descents and twisty forest tracks. Guy Bottrell and Dennis Murphy were the first ones to set off on their challenge to try and win. With heavy dust in the area, it is better to be closer to the front of the field, but to open the road is always tricky, so Bottrell faced a few navigational challenges and lost the lead as a result. And a flat tire too, and the time lost while changing these big heavy wheels also didn't help their progress. But Dennis Murphy is a strong lad and made easy work of the wheel change. Meanwhile, Henk Ladegan and Brett Cummings, who started the day down in 6th, made a strong push early in stage 2. Their aggressive yet controlled driving allowed them to take the lead, and they never looked back. By the time they returned to the service point for the break, they had established a comfortable lead. TGRSA Sahoud Varyawa and French navigator Francois Cazelet had high hopes of fighting for the lead, but the youngster ran into trouble early on. Something on the back of the Hilux managed to get loose, forcing the crew to have a few frantic moments on the side of the road while changing wheels and tightening a few bolts. It was early days, but the tough route was already starting to take its toll on a number of crews. And unfortunately, the expected challenge of the popular NWM Ford crews of the Woolrich brothers never materialized. They were right in the mix until mostly issues with their brakes started to take a toll, robbing both brothers from the opportunity to fight for victory. Lance was still amongst the top 10 runners, but Gareth had dropped way down the order as a result. Janiel de Villiers and Alvin Vonk continued their charge through the field, making up several positions despite battling dust and traffic. They managed to climb to 3rd place by the end of stage 2, Around 10 minutes behind Laracon, but with a bit of a buffer over the forward of Lance Woolridge, with teammates Vryheid and Kazley a further few seconds back in a provisional 5th place due to their earlier setbacks. The race had just gone past the halfway mark, and youngster Jaden Els alongside Henry Kier had staged a great fight back from behind the wheel of their King Price Extreme SVR. Els ran into trouble during the stage the day before when a suspension part failed, but the talented youngster fought his way back into the top 10 by occupying a fine 6th at this crucial part of the race. Wily Old Fox, Chris Visser and Navi Albertus Fenter had a relatively clean run in the dust, finishing stage 2 in 7th place, 33 seconds behind Els. Visser clearly extracted every bit of pace out of the GTR-powered Redline Revo, and the old maestro was setting himself up for a final push over the final stage of the race. Lance Strathui and Vincent Crosby from LT Earth Movers were running in 8th place in their Century Racing CR6, around 7 minutes behind Visser's Revo, but another minute and a half ahead of the driver known as the Hoff. No, not that one, and not the one from Pretoria either, but the Dutch driver Rens Hofstra and local lad Wade Harris, who found themselves in a top 10 position in their Redline Revo GTR. Back in the designated service park, the crews had a quick chance to catch a breather, while the technical crews joined the action to provide the abused racing machinery with well-deserved tender loving care. It was a quick opportunity to catch up with the leaders and their stories. Bottrell found the going tough after opening the road.
I'm not quite sure where we're standing, but nobody caught us. I'm quite surprised.
A very good second stage for Lartigan, who now held the overall lead.
This is a proper off-road. It's more like an enduro than an off-road. There's lots of rocks and really difficult climbs.
Heartache for the Ford guys who had to surrender their challenge during stage 2.
Kilometer 80, we lost the brake, so in the first recontrol we stopped to try fix it, couldn't find anything. We carried on, and then at the start of the recontrol, it was still not there.
Sahud Variawa didn't have things his way either.
All the toe links in the rear were loose, so yeah, we had to stop for a while, sort that out, and got going again.
And you can never keep a good man down, although even Janelle de Villiers can run into real-world problems.
Yeah, in the beginning we had some other reason the right-hand side jack didn't work, so we were a little bit worried if we get a puncture, so I took it really easy in the rocks.
And remember the 3-way tie we had at the top of the standings in the battle for honours in the adventurer category? Not even a single second could separate Johan de Bruin, Eben Besson and Gerard Heinlein at the start of the stage. But 175 kilometers of rough terrain through the Vryheid farmlands and surrounding mountains quickly separated the men from the other men. As the defending champions, smart money would have been on Besson and Pinard to break the tie in their Team Hilux Rally Raid Hilux. But the man from Hector Sprayton in Mpumalanga became a victim of the Vryheid veld, as they were forced to retire with severe damage to the rear suspension.
Yeah, it's bad for our points though, yes. At least we've got 5 races left and we'll try our best to make up.
The Heinleins, Gerard and Rudy are improving with every outing and once again did so here in Vryheid, but they were overtaken on stage 2 by their hard-charging Redline teammates Philip Wood and Gerard Skitter, who had a clean run to move themselves up into second in the adventurer category. But with the tie at the top clearly broken, it was Johan de Bruin and Navi Adrian-Ritz who returned to the Vryheid airfield with a more than 4-minute cushion over their nearest rivals.
I'm happy to see that we're in front now. It looks like we'll be able to keep up, but whoa, I do not look forward to the second loop. What? It's really terrible.
In the SSV class, stalwarts Jeff Minute and Rodney Berg faced mechanical issues that dropped them out of contention, allowing young lady driver Puck Klaassen and Charles Swanepoel to gain both confidence and overall positions.
I mean, I'm here, I'm in one piece. The car was didn't break down or anything, so I'm happy enough, yeah.
When it comes to the SA Rally Raid Championship, everyone thinks of the stars of the show being firstly the magnificent racing machines. However, for these events to go off without a hitch, it comes down to a very special group of people. They are the unsung heroes when it comes to the SA Rally Raid Championship. Of course, I am talking about the marshals.
Myself and my wife, we do the lineup with the help of other marshals as well, and then I normally do the ceremonial start. They got to be in the lineup 30 minutes before they start time. And if I see that the oak is not there and his time is running out, I will go look for him. and I'll hurry him up and get him to his start line. Otherwise they get a penalty on the one hand. On the other hand, they keep up my whole lineup, and I've got to keep a space open for them to join wherever they have to be.
We do it from a love of the sport, and especially for our competitors. And the big thing is me and my husband can do it together.
Motorsport's in my blood, and this is part of giving back to motorsport.
This was it, the final stage of the Vryheid 400, the last 170 odd kilometers that would stand between either glory or crushing defeat. And of course, the all-important and valuable championship points that go with it. The SSV class for side-by-side vehicles lost a contender or two along the way, such as multiple winner and champions Jeff Minnitt and Rodney Burke, who were relegated to a final third-place finish in the hydropower equipment Can-Am. This opened the door for newbies Rupert Vryheid and Morne van Rensburg to claim a well-earned second-place finish in what will surely prove to be one of the toughest events the crews are likely to face throughout 2024. But what a moment for young Puck Klaasen and Navi Swanepoel, who not only survived the tough Vryheid 400, but also managed to claim their first South African national victory at the same time. When the times were added, the final results revealed that the young lady emerged victorious by 4 minutes and 26 seconds over Vryheid. The first taste of the victory bubbly on SA soil must have been pretty sweet for the young lady.
Yeah, thank you. It was very good. I think today was more survival. A lot of other SSVs had problems.
Onto the adventurer class we go. Rally raid stalwart Johan van Staden has been part of the furniture for as long as one can remember. And together with son Sean, the Renault Duster pairing managed to add yet another national finish to their names. They were beaten to the line by the foreign locals in the form of German driver Jürgen Schroeder and Navi Ryan Bland. We say foreign local because although Schroeder makes the trip to SA from Germany to compete in each event, he has strong ties to the Vryheid area, including his Navi, who hails from the area. Schroeder was fast, but bad luck prevented him from a better finish. This allowed Philip Huerter to make use of the experience of his navigator Gerard Skitter to climb up the leaderboard and into a podium spot in their Redline VK56. The Heinlein family had their tails up after the first part of the race, and the pairing managed to survive a tough and challenging route from behind the wheel of their Redline VK56. But the gap that started as 0 seconds at the start of the day extended to 7 minutes after 400 kilometers of racing. And that gap was in favour of Johan de Bruyn and Adrian Ritz in the Redline Revo. The pair kept it clean and tidy on what proved to be a very challenging route to claim their first adventurer category win of 2024. There's the proof, 7 minutes and 4 seconds to be exact. That was the gap between de Bruyn and the Heinleins, with Philip Huerter and Gerard Skitter rounding out the podium. And this is what the sweet taste of success looks like, bubbly from the winner's podium for de Bruyn.
Hats off to my team. They prepped the car. The car is unbelievable.
Only one thing remained to settle the final positions both for the ultimate class as well as the overall race. Unfortunately for the Horn brothers, their race didn't end as well as they started after getting stuck in a ditch. They were beaten to the line by Ermelo businessman Vorst Prinsloo and the experienced Andre Vermeulen, who had to battle their own niggles inside the NWM Ford Ranger. But the friendly Prinsloo enjoyed beating his friends, the Horns. Dutchman Rake van den Brink and Heido Heymans were next up, just missing out on a top 10 finish on their first visit to South African soil behind the wheel of a Century CR7 twin turbo. And after losing loads of time in both loops following a few issues in the TGRSA Hilux, youngster Sahoud Varillon and Francois Casley had to settle for 10th in the ultimate category. 9th on the day went to yet another Dutch visitor in the form of the Hof, or Rinst Hofstra, with Wade Harris reading the notes in the Redline Revo GTR. While brake issues clearly stopped Gareth Woolridge and Boyd Dreyer from joining the podium fight. It was bitter disappointment for the champions, who had high hopes, especially after setting the earlier pace. Woolridge may have been disappointed with the result, but these guys are moving up and up with every outing. The hashtag Team Hilux Rally Raid squad of Fouchier and brother Bertus Blickner are now in what is only their 3rd year in the sport, and collected a well-earned 7th year in Vryheid. And welcome back to Big Dog Lance Strathui and his new Navi Vincent Crosby. Then Italian took a sabbatical, but as they say, you can't keep a good man down. And he made his return count with a wonderful 6th place finish in his Century Racing CR6. There were still crews in with a chance, but only 3 steps available on the podium. And in a quality field like this one, a podium is hard to come by. Someone who had stood on many podiums in his career is Chris Visser, but on this occasion the Northwest farmer and businessman had to settle for a 5th place finish. And as was the case with his brother, NWM Ford pilot Lance Woolridge would also have been disappointed by not reaching the podium after showing race-winning pace earlier on. It was bitterly close though, as only 10 seconds separated Woolridge and Kenny Gilbert from the TGRSA Hilux that did manage to squeeze onto the winner's podium. The crew in question, Janelle de Villiers and Alvin Funk, who adds a 3rd place finish to their win during the opening round. Their Toyota teammates made it a clean sweep of the podium for the TGRSA squad, as Guy Bottrell and Dennis Murphy took the 2nd step after a long and eventful race. That's 2 2nd place finishes in a row for Bottrell, who will no doubt be a title contender in 2024. The final stage, however, saw intense competition as teams pushed their limits on the demanding Vryheid terrain, but none so faster and better than Henk Lategan and Brett Cummings. The pair gradually extended their lead, showing their superior speed while securing their first victory since August 2023, after spending 6 hours and 43 minutes behind the wheel. Lategan emerged victorious over teammates Bottrell and de Villiers, with the Ford of Lance Woolridge just missing out on a podium, and Chris Visser rounding out the top 5. The podium celebrations at the Vryheid Flying Club were a fitting end to a challenging event. Lategan and Cummings were clearly elated with their victory, ahead of their teammates, who collectively also claimed the prestigious Manufacturers Award for Toyota.
It's awesome winning, but coming back from an injury like that, it took 6 months to recover. So I'm really happy that everything's fine and that the shoulder can last for a full race.
The next round of the SARC is the big one. The Toyota Gazoo Racing Safari 1000 promises to be just as exciting. Set in the Bushveld area around Tabazimbi in the Limpopo province, this 3-day marathon event will take place from the 21st to the 23rd of June. With 2 victories from the first 2 rounds, Toyota Gazoo Racing will be looking to continue their winning streak. That was all the action, proudly brought to you by Toyota, #Team Hilux Rally Raid, Ford, Castrol, and ICAM.